Why would someone torch a man's tractor over a due law 1000 fine, only to find out he's the one who catches arsonists for a levying? I stood there, arms crossed, the heat from the smoldering wreckage warming my face as the flames flickered in my sunglasses. My old John Deere was a twisted heap of metal, hissing and popping in the dawn light. Ellen, the HOA tyrant, stood a few yards away, screaming at the fire crew like they were her personal maids. Her face was beet red, her hair a frizzy mess from the blaze, her voice hoarse but still sharp. She was ranting about how I'd ruined the neighborhoods, by parking farm equipment on my own land, how my tractor was an eyesore, how I'd brought this on myself. What she didn't know was that I, Tom Harlan, wasn't just some stubborn rancher. I'm the guy who trains cops to sniff out arson, and this fire? It was already whispering her secrets. 3 days earlier, a tacky pink envelope with a glossy HOA seal landed in my mailbox, looking like it belonged at a bridal shower. Inside was a letter starting with, "Dear Resident," which made me snort. It listed violations, like VY soil pollution, from my tractor, the same tractor I park on the family ranch my grandpa built in the 30s. Ellen, the self-appointed queen of Pine VYEW estates, claimed it was causing community distress. I was halfway through my coffee, buttering toast, when a knock rattled my door, quick, aggressive, like someone itching for a fight. I opened it to find Ellen, late 50s, blonde streaks, clutching a clipboard like a battle axe. She didn't wait for a hello, just stepped forward, eyeing my porch for infractions. She announced herself as Pine VYEU's HOA president, said she'd gotten complaints about my property. I asked what property, since my ranch isn't under any HOA. Her lips curled into a smile that was all teeth and no warmth. She claimed a new map from last year put my land in their district. I told her unless God himself redrew the county lines, her map was worthless. She shoved a fine at me, due law 1000, due in 5 days, or legal action would follow. I asked what law let her fine me on land zoned for agriculture. She started reciting bylaws like a preacher, but I cut her off, told her to leave. Her eyes narrowed, and she hissed, "This isn't over." I said it was for now. She stormed off, her heels kicking up gravel like she owned it. That night, I moved the tractor closer to the barn, checked the fence line, and went to bed. My hound Daisy slept by the porch. Everything was quiet, too quiet, the kind Arson loves. At dawn, a sharp, sweet stench yanked me awake. I bolted outside, and there it was, flames devouring my tractor, licking the barn like a starving beast. I grabbed the hose, nothing. The water line was cut. I emptied a fire extinguisher, but the blaze just laughed. Neighbors were calling 911, phones glowing in the half-light. Someone ran with a shovel. I waved them back. The fire crew arrived, but the tractor was gone, metal warped, tires melted into goo. The barn was singed, smoke curling off its beams. Daisy sat by me, ears flat, silent as a rock. Then Ellen appeared, flip-flops slapping, smoothie in hand, yelling at the firemen about how unsafe my tractor was, how I'd ignored her warnings. I didn't speak. I just watched her eyes too calm, her hands too tight around that cup, her story too rehearsed. When the hoses were rolled up, I walked the burned site. The pattern screamed arson, a V-shaped char near the rear tire, residue on the gravel, no engine spark or wiring fault. Near the melted tire, I found a melted plastic ring, the base of a gas can, still faintly red from FarmTech fuel jugs. I left it there, untouched, and knew 2 things. This was deliberate, and Ellen had no idea who she'd crossed. I didn't call the sheriff or post online. I studied the fire, let it talk, and started collecting its story. The next morning, I walked the site again. The burn was tight, focused not a random spark but a planned hit, starting low at the tire like a fuse. Behind a tree, I found a melted jug cap, tossed just far enough to avoid notice. Nearby were boot prints, small, women's size tennis shoes, not work boots. I snapped photos, logged them, and bagged the cap in a metal tray, locking it in my garage fridge. I wasn't filing a report yet, Small-town politics bury cases like this. I needed it ironclad. At the co-op store, the only place selling farm tech jugs, I asked for security footage, saying someone was scoping my land. The clerk, Jake, pulled it up. 2 nights before the fire, there was Ellen, scarf and sunglasses in 70-degree weather, grabbing gloves, long matches, and a 2-gallon jug. Paid cash, said nothing. Not illegal, but damning. I got a timestamped still and receipt. Next, I checked my neighbor's ring cam. At 1:42 a.m., a silver SUV crept by with lights off, stopped near my fence. A woman in a hoodie stepped out, hesitated, then pulled a can from the back. A flicker, then orange bloomed. She sped off. The bumper dent and faded HOA sticker screamed Ellen's Ford Edge. I didn't stop there. Daisy, my retired Arson dog, still had her nose. I took her to the site, and she hit 3 spots: the tire, the tree line, the trash bins across the street. Classic accelerant trail. I sent the cap and gloves to a lab contact, calling in a favor. That night, Ellen hosted a community progress barbecue, gloating about property values. I showed up with potato salad, stayed quiet. When I mentioned the fire looked suspicious, her smile twitched. She changed the topic fast. I kept building the case. I rigged cameras, a GPS-tagged fuel can, a UV dye trap, and a mic in a birdhouse. At 2 a.m., my tablet pinged a figure, grabbed a decoy EVY Denke folder from my porch and bolted. The tracker led to a trash can by the HOA shed, where Ellen's niece, Mia, was caught on cam dumping it. Sloppy. By noon, Sheriff Dan filed a warrant for Ellen arson, fraud, tampering. She'd been pocketing HOA fines, charging for fake violations like kids' chalk drawings. The HOA board dissolved her role, apologized, and gutted its powers. After her arrest, someone rifled the EVY Denke locker. Nothing was taken. Dan had backups, but Ellen's cousin, a city council hack, pushed for her release, claiming I'd set her up. He didn't know Dan had signed off on every trap. Then I saw a pickup idling nearby, same one that delivered Ellen's fence panels. I logged the plates. Desperation was setting in, and desperate people burn reckless. I called the state fire marshal to audit Ellen's HOA finances. He found thousands in fines funneled to her Venmo, not the HOA. Meanwhile, I parked a decoy tractor with a sign, EVY Denke re VYEW pending. At 3:15 a.m., my phone buzzed. Floodlights caught Mia tearing at the sign, wearing her pink sneakers. I didn't chase her, the footage was enough. Dan escalated it to the DA. At Ellen's arraignment, she pleaded not guilty, her lawyer blaming hormonal imbalance. The judge wasn't buying it. Charges piled up: arson, trespassing, fraud, tampering. Outside, a neighbor who'd backed Ellen apologized, admitting he'd fallen for her lies. The town shifted, lawns grew wild, mailboxes got colorful, chalk art returned. I rebuilt my barn, replanted grass, and found a letter from Ellen's husband. He was VYing her, said she'd lost herself to pride. I didn't reply. Weeks later, another letter came from Ellen. She admitted the fire, said my tractor symbolized a strength she envied, that she tried to burn what she couldn't build. I tucked it away, not for forgiveness, but as part of the story. At a firehouse talk, I told recruits fire reveals truth, that justice is patient. Neighbors gifted me a new red tractor, no note needed. I mowed the field, hosted a barn gathering, and built a porch with Daisy at my side. Sunflowers bloomed where the old tractor burned, planted by some quiet hand. As I sat on that porch, the sky blazing orange, I realized Ellen's fire didn't break me. It lit a path to justice, showed who my neighbors really were, and proved strength doesn't scream, it stands. The ranch was quiet, the fences strong, and Daisy's head rested on my boot. I wasn't thinking about what burned anymore. I was thinking about what grew.